All right, Shalom. I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shem, Yahweh, Shem, Kakadash. Double honor to the apostle and elder as a great millstone. And Shalom to all the Achaemenid pushing the word of sincerity and the truth. And I have this lesson going into Esther, the 14-year-old queen. It's Purim. And, the Spirit was just on me to do some research because, I was watching a movie One Night with the King, which is a good movie on YouTube. And it goes into the story of the book of Esther. Queen, before she was a queen, she was under the household of Mordecai, which was her uncle. But I just did some research. I was like, I was wondering how old she was in the time span of her basically being prepped and, groomed in Ahasuerus or Xerxes' household, to actually be, a queen, so to speak. And I researched it, and this is the results. 14 years old. This is a cold cut, slice and a half cut, a decapitation to you dumb, false Israelite niggas that's always trying to, push that energy that 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds are still children. Because, let's just keep it straight. You all been Babylonianized, man. You've been Americanized. You still hold on to the customs of America, which even if you really want to go deep in American customs, when the U.S. started, you can marry women in certain states as young as 15 years old, even here in Georgia with parental consent, man. Now, of course, we don't do that in these times now. Esau has changed the times and laws, to fit his criteria or fit his system, so you don't see these things going on today. But in the ancient world, that was common, man. That was a common thing in medieval times. That was a common thing in ancient times in Persia, the Middle East, in the Asiatic lands, even with the Hamites, because they understood when a woman was to become, or when a girl was to become a woman, the flower of her age when she was basically fully developed. And that's usually around puberty, and puberty is from 12, 13, 14 years old. And that's denotes you becoming a man, and that denotes you becoming a woman. And even when you look into it on a physiological or physical base, when you develop pubic hair, that's to that when you look into it, even on a female, that's to endure thrusting. It's actually a cushion, and that's a it's basically like an insulation, so to speak, for a woman, when you do the research. So a woman's body is basically being accustomed to sexual intercourse, all right? Which word intercourse means to rub between, from a male partner. But I'm going to read this 14 years old. It says, as she was portrayed as still a virgin, we can assume she was still quite young and perhaps around 14 years old. Bruce Feiler says in Where God Was Born that Queen Amestris was Xerxes' only known wife, and that she remained queen long after the third year of his reign, the year that Esther says she became queen. Right. And we know Esther to be a fairly young woman because she was living in the household of Mordecai. And, she wasn't established. She couldn't have been 18, 19 years old, which a lot of guys would, try to jump out there and, try to put a certain age and try to make her older. But like I said, going back to ancient customs and even Mary was a young woman when she was dealing with Joseph, around 14, 15 years old. All these women, when you read about them, when they were basically disposed unto a man or basically being introduced and espoused unto a man, they were fairly young. And matter of fact, I wanted to read, this on the Esther on the encyclopedia, because it also backs the same thing. Anytime you research how old Esther was, scholars can, basically pinpoint that she was, a teen. In today's time, they would refer it as a teen or a preteen, but she was extremely young, and a lot of guys would look at that as pedophilia in today's time, but they don't understand the dynamics of ancient customs. And I want to get that. I just seen it on the Google before. I had to find it over here. But matter of fact, I'll just go back and read it, because that's just the main point. It says one of these included Esther. At the time, Esther was only 14 years old, but she possessed remarkable beauty as well as charm and precocious tact. When her opportunity finally came to appear before the king, Ahasuerus was immediately taken with Esther's attractiveness, and he made her the new queen. Right. So you guys that condemn, starting out with the apostles, Apostle Har, Apostle Gabar, Apostle Rakar, Apostle Ramlav on down, and the elders and brothers of Great Millstone for teaching what you try to call a pedophilia, and child molestation, you also have to rebuke Mordecai. You also have to rebuke the men in the Bible for allowing a 14-year-old to be married. You would also have to rebuke Joseph. You would you would have to rebuke men that you read about in the Bible. You would actually have to condemn the Bible on the whole, because that was condoned in the ancient world. All right. And let's see how old Xerxes was when he met Esther. You have this snippet right here with the image of Esther, which that's from the movie One Night with the King. Like I said, it's a good movie, but I just want to jump down to the point where Xerxes says, we can work out how old Xerxes was from historical books like the Greek historian Herodotus, as well as the internal evidence in Esther. He was born in 518 BC. He became king of Persia in 485 at the age of 33. He deposed Queen Vashti when he was 36. He had a war against Greece when he was 39 to 49. Right, and this is all when Esther, she was living in the house with Mordecai. You see? He married Esther in 479 BC when he was 40. So he was 40 and she was around 14. It could have been 15 years old. But we know definitely she wasn't no damn 23, 24. 19, 20, she wasn't in her upper ages. She was still what you would call a teenager. He killed Haman at 473 when he was 45. He was assassinated in 468 when he was 53. So what is clear is that Esther was married to a rich middle-aged man. But based on Middle Eastern practices, I suspect Esther was a teenager when she married Xerxes, which would make sense of why she submitted to Mordecai and 210 and 220. So just say she was 15, then she had to deal with Haman's plot when she was about 20. And that's accurate. That's a cold cut, to you assholes, man. And let me, matter of fact, read this a little bit, because you guys are lost in the sauce, man. You're not rightly dividing the word of truth. You're not studying to show yourself approved. You guys don't have reading and comprehension skills, and you're totally finished, man. This is Esther 2:10. Esther had not showed her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. So Mordecai was still giving her a word, or he was still commanding her. The word charge is another word for command. And when you charge somebody, that shows that she was still youthful. She was still a child that was still listening to the orders. And of course, Mordecai was a good advisor. He was a good counselor, and she looked up to him as a father figure, but she was still young, and she still didn't have a decision-making skill. She still was growing into womanhood. You see, it says, and Mordecai walked every day before the court of the woman's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. And if she was a grown woman, why would he put that much emphasis of walking through the courts? All right. She would be able to deal on her own accord, but she was fairly young. So he had to still have a level of supervision to make sure that she was basically dealing, in with wisdom, so he had to, like I said, monitor to a certain level. Verse 12. Now every maid's turn was come to go into the king Ahasuerus, and that she had been 12 months according to the manner of the woman, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 months with sweet odor, and with the things for the purifying of the woman. Right. And not only was Esther pretty young, all the women in the king's court that was to replace Queen Vashti were also young, 14, 15, 16, possibly 13. It doesn't say all the women's age, but, we know it was all around that age bracket. Then thus came every maiden, which the word maiden means young woman, unto the king, whatsoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the woman unto the king's house. Right. And that just drives home the point, and that's further conclude the fact that Esther was a fairly young woman. So what the hell are you talking about, Tazaria? Still, basically mouthing off and still spewing madness, man. Because, you read the scriptures partially. You don't get the full in-depth or the full entirety of the Bible, and how you going to work around this? Because this is a full-fledged fact, so this is just something I just really wanted to go through the spirit, in the times that we in, the time of Purim, and show that Esther was a fairly young woman. So I'm going to end it by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Shema, Shah, Shema, Kakwadash, double honors to the apostle and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom Akim.